buzzing?
Yeah, it's just like a consistently throughout the day thing, and I don't know, the whole thing just kind of felt it's like what's about to happen. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, but so I just kind of wanted to get some touch base on that.
A lot of times when you have the ringing in the ear that's been persistent for a long time, you will be doing channeling work. Okay, they're getting you acclimated to bring in information, whether it's writing or telepathic or communication. So if you've got that ringing in your ear that's been chronic, that's usually what they're working on, is to create that connection with your energy stream. Also, the third eye buzzing, really what you want to let go of anything shame or guilty that you've seen in your life. Okay? So the thing is if you're really wanting to be clairvoyant, but you can't see spirit, do your writing. Release shame, guilt, fear, resentment around what you've seen. Because your eyes can only see from the depths of their belief systems. And you will literally shut down your own sight from things you've seen or not wanted to see. As well as hearing. As well as feeling. When you go numb, it's because it's not safe for me to feel. I want to write down all the things that I felt or had happened to me that are shame, guilty, or fear, or resentment that I can release. And guess what? This is all I've ever done to move into all of my spiritual abilities. I didn't take classes, I didn't go get attunements. I literally went down to the depths of hell and released shame, guilt, fear, and resentment. Because that is the only thing that keeps us dense. If we look at the energy systems here, these are frequencies. Fear is at the bottom, love's at the top. As you begin to release fear, your vibration increases. Your body will start craving different things. It will need different things. You'll say, I don't know why, I just need to go outside. I just need to just be in nature. I need to hug a tree, and I don't know why. Literally. I just need to go dance. I need to move my body. These are the things that you're going to be feeling that are just going to be very intuitive, and you're not going to know because it's not really what you've been in the past. But everything you've wanted in the last year is to not be who you've been. So now that you're getting it, don't resist it. Don't resist your playful ideas that are coming in and the idea that you want to go play at the playground again. Yes?
So what about the dizziness and the like electricity going off in your brain, that feeling?
Like the circuits?
Yes.
When are you feeling it, morning or night?
I was feeling it morning. I haven't for a while, but I was like 6 months ago.
Okay, so like I said, the only thing you're technically going to own is this. Do you all know what this needs? Do you know how to take care of this? Because I will tell you, the Ascension Transcendence will be way more intense if you're not giving your body its basic needs. Hydration. Oil. Okay, we talked about that last month. Hemp oil, coconut oil. This is what's going to help the frequencies connect into the new DNA. The new DNA that it's been dormant for hundreds and thousands of years is opening, and it's using a lot of energy. And so we want to ground that energy with oil and water and nature. Grounding. You have got to ground your new energy. It's probably why you're sleeping on the floor. It's like an intuitive thing of just being able to ground and connect closer to the earth. Because if you came here to do shamanic healing of any kind, nature is going to be your BFF right now. If you came here to teach galactic principles, you will be obsessed with the stars. It's who you are. Don't deny it. Learn about it. Remember it. Because I will tell you that every single person in here, I can guarantee you, your highest joy is when you do this work. Is when you read books. Is when you help people. That's like the high that no drug can give you. So if you would just give yourselves the ability to do more of this and connect with more of like-minded people, you would begin to thrive. Does anybody have any other questions?
What happens when you start realizing a lot of your core beliefs are just totally wrong, false? I mean, it starts making you feel heavy or something.
We all know that one.
Amen.
Yeah.
You mean you're starting to realize everything you've believed in was a lie?
A lot, yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about it in my workshop,
That's
it's
who
the
you
word
are.
belief is being the lie. Well, you don't want to haunt yourself for the things you believed when you didn't know. Okay? All you have to do is choose not to believe today. Because again, you don't want this to be heavy. Lighten up. Oh, my core belief system sucked, truthfully. I was taught basically to be afraid and to not love myself, bottom line. So for 30 years, I walked that story. No matter what things would happen to me, everything would always usually unfold as a negative because that's the story I was carrying, and law of attraction is responding to all of your stories. Just because we ascend doesn't mean that we're not going to be using law of attraction anymore. What that means is as we ascend and become more 5D, manifestations are going to happen a lot faster, which means you say it and you're going to see it, which means you have to be more accountable to your own mind. And it is a good idea that you make sure that you know what's in your own mind and that it's actually you, because it's not your mom's voice or your dad's voice or society's voice, because those stories are playing too, and those don't serve us anymore. So letting go of limiting beliefs is just part of this process. I think we've all realized that the things that we were taught were not necessarily true, yes? But it's now walking the walk of the new idea. It's not about having beliefs, it's about having experiences. You'll notice that tangible things are not going to be so exciting for you, but experiences are going to be what you crave. The house isn't going to satisfy you as much as the trip across seas or the new relationship. Okay? So you're going to start feeling satisfied in different ways, and you don't want to resist that. You want to move with it, because I will tell you that it's all going to get better and better and better and better. There's a question on this. Yes?
Who did you channel in order to get the next year's?
So I tap into a collective. I will tell you that I mostly channel my higher self, and my higher self works with the Galactic Federation of Light. So I work with all the Federation of Palladians and Syrians and Greys and even reptilians. Because you know what? We are a byproduct of 7 different alien DNA. So in order for me to actually get the real story, I've got to tap into everybody, including the reptilians. And they have given us that hive mind, that collective mind of conformity, which makes us all want to be just like each other. That's part of our genetic makeup, and that has served us for a while. But as we move from this part of our mind into our frontal cortex, which is more of our Palladian energy, which is our creation, which is prime creator, we choose whether we want to be part of the hive or not. Did I answer your question? Anybody else? Yes.
I have a few. First of all, Shirley MacLaine had a book, and was it Lumerians that she talked about? I'm trying to remember.
I think so.
Is this all just kind of a cycle that we go through? We get real heavy, and then we get real light, and then we decide to get heavy again, or is it constantly always enlightening, just in a cycle?
Always enlightening, always expanding. The universe's only thought is creation. And through creation, there has to be destruction. That's how we give birth. So everything that's destroyed is always reborn. Now this particular planet, though, has never gone through, this part of the galaxy of where we are has never actually gone through what we're about to go through. That's why they call this process the grand experiment. Never have we ever had a planet with this much darkness transition into light so quickly. It is an evolutionary process that usually takes millions and millions and millions of years, and we're doing it in about 2,000 years. Okay? From when Jesus first touched his foot on the planet till now, we've been in 2,000 years. And as over the next 2,000 years, we will move back into light. So you are here at a very, very, very specific time where you are actually going to see the benefits of what the last 2,000 years have been. A lot of people are not going to see this. So this is a very exciting time because we're actually going to be a byproduct of the darkness and actually be able to appreciate the light. These next generations aren't even going to know. Your kids don't know what we've suffered through. That's why they're all entitled, because they remember their God. We went to school without Google, people. How did we do that? But their ideas are so less limiting than ours, and they refuse to buy into your story of struggle. So they're going to ascend extremely fast, and you're going to have to keep up. Does that make sense?
Whoop, whoop.
Okay. All of our youngins are here. This is easy.
It's basically just me. Pretty sure. Anyone else in there?
I think the problem that our generation is having, you guys' generation is having, is that you're too bored, right? Because you have the new downloads, you have the new energy, you have the frequency, you have the knowing, and there's nobody to play with, and there's no cool things to do yet.
I totally.
It will change. It will change. Let the elders show you how it's done. It's called patience. I'll teach you. Anyone else? Did you have another question for me?
Well, I'm kind of hung up on the vegan thing.
Okay. And there's no judgment in not doing that, because I will tell you that I'm not completely vegan yet either. But that is because I have chosen to do a lot of very, very intense work with people, and I need to match a frequency when I'm working with them. So if I were to go vegan, I would not really be able to play with a lot of you, because I need to match the frequency of where you are energetically. So I actually need to lower my energy field in order to really help someone process their journey, and that's a choice. And I know that any animal that I've eaten has also been in agreement with that process. Because everything is agreed. Every death is a soul contract. There's no one that ever leaves the planet without actually setting that process up beforehand. So that can let go of a lot of guilt and shame for us. Also making sure that you're sending good energy, love to your food, because you don't know what the story that's been played out on your plate. I'll tell you, even this wall has a story. Right? Everything has a story because everything was made from consciousness. So from every perspective of consciousness lies a story. So every food that you've eaten has a story. The farmer that picked it, what was he going on? What was he going through in his life? You're getting part of that story. Anyone that you have a sexual relationship with, you're taking part of their story and you're giving them part of yours. Because we all are one. And so in this process of constantly giving our energy away to others and constantly taking other people's energies, it really disallows us to know who the heck we are. That's why we have to move into that solitude before we can technically make community. The journey is within first, and within it will expand just like a star. So we have to move in and recalibrate and honor ourselves long enough to get to know who the heck we are so that we can go help other people. Otherwise, we're just giving our energy away and we're taking people's energy away and we're playing the victim. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Come on, guys. Come on, Mary.
Yesterday was 12/12.
Uh-huh.
So is there something that we can do on these gateways?
So,
I know ritual.
Yes.
Yeah.
and we're technically going to have a full moon on Christmas. Everything is divine. I will tell you that the full ascension is supported by astrology. And everything at the basis of this universe is number and code. So the thing is if you are seeing 12s, read into that. But there's different portals coming in so fast that it would take me literally 6 hours to explain to you every transition that's happened since September. Because since September, the game has changed. It's a new world. So every full moon, every solar flare is going to be more updates, more updates, more updates. And are you ready to receive them?
Yes. So you can prepare yourself.
Yeah. And how you prepare yourself is your job is to keep your frequency at its highest level that you can manage in your personal life. That is your personal responsibility. Whatever you can do that raises your vibration, do it and do it all the time. And then allow those moments of low to be there and love them, because that's just a moving in and out. That is getting the darkness up, loving it, and transcending it. You want to love the heck out of your ego. That's your job. You don't resist it. You don't, oh my gosh, I'm not worthy. Oh my gosh, I'm not God. Yes, you are. It's arrogant to think you're not. That is arrogant, to think that you are so different that you're not God. It's remembering who you are and then maybe not feeling completely worthy, but practicing worthiness. And the way that we can practice worthiness is to appreciate the things that are right about us instead of the wrong. To do this shame and guilt checklist. To actually put in the work and look at yourself and see that you aren't the monster that your ego thinks it is. Yes?
I was having a conversation with someone the other day and a while ago about how I'm not all of God. I'm just a piece of God. And I can't like call myself God because that would be arrogant because I have so much to learn and I'm in this vessel, so therefore I cannot be God. And I was sitting there and I was listening to him speak and I was like, I really do understand where he's coming from, and so we met in a middle ground. But can you give me some insight on why I am fully God or I am not fully God, or if it's in between, or if it's completely irrelevant anyway?
Well, you're technically both.
Right.
You're an aspect and you're all. So let me explain the way that I teach fourth graders. Right? And the way that I teach fourth graders is a giant puzzle, right, that makes one big picture. Each piece of the puzzle is very unique, but it fits perfectly in the all. And your piece is designed to be a certain shape, a certain color, a certain energy, and it's not supposed to be like the piece next to it, because then if it was, you wouldn't fit. So our uniqueness is basically the shattered puzzle of God. So although I'm just one speck, I'm one fractal piece of a giant puzzle, I'm still part of the all.
Because without you...
Without me, the piece is not complete.
Yeah.
And that's how important you are. Without you, it doesn't work. And I will tell you that collectively on this particular planet is so much like a video game I couldn't even begin to tell you.
It really is.
It's all virtual reality coming from your higher self that is playing the game.
It's a matrix.
It is. And if you saw the world through my eyes, you would see this is all numbers and codes. There is no what you see. There's just the matrix.
Okay, I have a question on that.
Yeah.
So this concept was introduced to me a little bit ago, but that everybody in your world, like all of you, would be a reflection of me then. So like when we're like a fractal piece of God, all of these people of you are a fractal piece of me.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that...
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
I totally understand the whole reflection thing,
Yeah.
and especially when someone's like angry or upset and they're directing it at you and you're like, oh, you're just talking to yourself through me. I'm so mind blown by that. I'm like, I don't even know how to process it sometimes because of the whole mirroring thing.
Well, see, the thing is we're using... So this particular video game has 7 billion players. How many of you guys have ever played a video game in here? Okay, some of you. Well, play with me if you haven't. Just go with me. So technically what I could do is I could be sitting in my house and I could call Karsten, who is living in Canada, and I could say, yo dude, log in to the main system and let's play a game together. Okay? And from his computer or his TV, he could literally log in to the TV that we're both playing on and create virtual reality together. Does that make sense? Yet he's in Canada and I'm here. Which means technically all of us could log into one system and play a game together. Now there is an object of the game, and there is an opponent of the game, and there is a reason for the game. We're not just standing there like, hey. We're like actually playing a game when we log in. But we have all agreed to co-create and play this game together. All 7 billion of us, not just the people in this room. Just like any sports game, there needs to be an opponent, which means there needs to be contrast in order for the game to be fun. Otherwise, we're just like, hey. Right? We're standing there, like virtual reality, like nothing's happening. There has to be a game. And higher self, who is actually navigating the game, knows that if its character forgets that it is connected to higher self, that it can use its opponents and its other co-creative people to find its way back home. Because the game has a lot of things set up in case you forget. Right? Just like there's cheat codes that are in video games where you can go, oh, if I just go into this room, I won't have to bypass this whole level. Right? that exists on this planet too. And we use spirit guides. And we use all these little things within our virtual reality to help us find our way home. And basically the whole object of the game is to realize you're a character.
Yes.
And as soon as you realize you're a character, then you can actually start regenerating the game based on what you want to play versus on what game you got put in. That's the object of Planet Earth. It is a learning hologram.
So are you a hologram for me?
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't have your own soul purpose. I mean, like, you are not a completely...
No, she is. She totally is. But
I have my own universe and you have yours.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. But
Yes.
but I have created you in my hologram.
Yes.
Okay.
And I've created you.
And you both teach each other things.
And we teach each other things. And we use each other to get back home, which is back to our higher selves, which is the light.
Okay.
So we're using each other as pieces of the puzzle.
I mean, I could get my I think I could get my head wrapped around it.
You got it.
And not that it really matters, other than just understanding how people play in your
No,
life.
awareness is empowerment. So the more you can learn about this, the less you'll feel victimized by this planet. The more you can remember that you're a video game, the less you sweat the small stuff, which is empowering. Because to me, anytime I have a problem, all I have to do is go higher perspective, like, okay, this is just a game. You know, what's the challenge? What do I actually have available to me? What are my cheat codes? And sometimes I have to go into meditation in order to remember that I'm not in the game, but it does work every time. Your question?
I was just going to say, one of the ways that's made it easier for me to understand is to see there's dimensions that kind of come down on top of where we are, and then there's alternate realities that kind of come this direction. And you can step into these alternate reality parts of yourself that are very similar to who you are, but maybe you're richer, or maybe you've got some other thing figured out, or not this problem. But when you keep going further and further into all these spectrums of how you could be different, you can step into those and interact with all these different versions of yourself. And that's what you're doing right now. Like,
Yeah.
every single one of us is another version of yourself had your circumstances been
Oh,
different.
honey, that's a
On
different class. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I'm looking forward to being able to teach that work because that's the fast forward.
That's the
That
work.
is the quantum leap. So basically what she's saying is at any given moment, you could stop the game and choose a different character.
Yeah.
Choose a character that had more of an archetype that would be more successful in your life. Like, oh, I'm going to pull this character out and I'm going to make her a musician. Throw her back in. And we teach that in the Master Manifestation class is how to change your character. Because you are creating it all. You created everything, you're constantly creating it, and there's versions of you that are more enlightened than others. And following joy and excitement is the thread that you pull that finds you to your highest level of you. Because although there's a creator, there's prime creator, there's also a bigger version of you. And following excitement and joy and passion and all these things and getting completely delusional about collective consciousness, it takes you into enlightenment very quickly. I've even said this, if you could literally pull yourself out of collective consciousness, get completely delusional, follow nothing but joy, you would be enlightened in 3 months. Pretty hard to do if you have like a life here. But even if it takes you a couple of years, it's still super fun. Was that in alignment with you? Yeah.
Years ago, there was a book called The Glass Bead Game. I mean, 40, 50 years ago, that was just parallels at 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Well, I mean, there's realities within realities within realities, but I mean, even understanding the reflective process is challenging. So that's why we love to teach so many classes, because I truly believe that the more knowledge you have, the less you're scared. You know what I mean? The more you know about your own body, the less you're scared of it. The less you need someone else to teach you about it. You know, if you go to your doctor and he says you have a thyroid issue and you're like, what the heck's a thyroid? You know, we need to learn about who we are and what we have to work with. It's like learning your character. It's like, what does the human body need? Okay, what does the human body need with moving into an evolutionary process? You've got to get pure again. You can't feed it junk. You can't do mean things to it and have it evolve with you. It cannot be your enemy on the journey or you won't go. If you are your own enemy, you won't go. And it will take you as long as you will take you, and it'll be fine, because you know what? At the end, we all win. And there is no, you need to do this now. But if you're like me, you have that urgency that's within you, and it's not going away, right? Who else has that? It's like this gut check that's just annoying and there, and you don't know what you're supposed to do, but you haven't got your coordinates yet. You don't get your coordinates until you move into the next level of the video game. And I will tell you, just like a video game, there's usually a dragon. And at this dragon, you're usually facing yourself. So you use whatever you've got that you've collected over your life experience, your street knowledge, and you meet your opponent in the mirror, which is you, and then you move to the next level. And that's all we're doing. And it is very crazy to think about it, but it's also super easy and fun, because it makes life seem so much less heavy. It's not. Technically, we're just all here to love each other. But first, we got to love ourselves, because you can only love someone at the level that you love yourself. So you won't even have a lot to give until you work within. Because as you start to give yourself love, you start to fill yourself up with source energy, and you're no longer battery operated, you're plugged into the wall. Which means you don't get tired. Which means you don't require outside things to feed your energy streams, because you're just directly connected. If your energy is dumping on you, you're battery operated, which means you're needing something outside of you to fill you up. That's what sugar craving is about. You need to get within and plug back into the wall and then run your energy, because that's all you're doing, is you're running energy all day long. You're all energy healers, and you're all spiritual teachers. Every single one of you that's ever read a book, you're already life coaching. I know there's not one person in this room that's not coaching someone, right? Or multiples. You can't help it. It's who you are. So if you can step more into that role and be more deliberate about it, things will get a lot easier. Yes?
So I understand what you're saying, kind of. Totally, but kind of. But here's the thing, when people talk to you, since we are life coaching, and they say, well, if there isn't any time, then how are their timelines? How are their past lives? How would you explain that to somebody?
So it's an agreement. So the whole game runs on agreements. Like we agree that that's the color blue, the sky, when it's a sunny day. There's collective agreement that we have all bought into so that we can play the game. Right?
So we agree we're Palladian.
We've had the experience. Okay? So, like when someone comes to me and they say, oh, I'm an alcoholic. And I say, well, when's the last time you had a drink? And they said 7 years ago. I said, no, we've had the experience of being an alcoholic. When you say I am, you're directing that lineage into the present moment, and you're taking ownership of that condition. So the thing is about timelines, is this is a series of experiments that have gotten us closer to closer to closer to light. So when we broke away from source, we wanted to go as far away from source as we could to have the experience of not being light. And now we're having the experiences of joining back into that light. So everything is about expansion and experience, because without experience, you don't have knowledge. And you definitely don't have wisdom without the doing of your life. Because I don't care how much you've studied metaphysically, if you're not living this, then you're not going to be actually able to embody the changes. You're just going to know about it. You're like, yeah, listen to Matt Kahn and yeah, this, that. But are you living it? Because to know about the shift and to live the shift is a whole different ballgame. It's like knowing you're in a video game and being like, yeah, I'm in a video game, but I'm still going to go to work and I'm still going to go do this and I'm still going to do that. It's like, how fun. I consider that hell on earth.
Yeah.
Literally. Because you know way too much and you don't know what to do to get out of the game. So you literally have to start being the example. And when you become the example, you become the teacher, whether you like it or not. Our kids don't look at what we say, they watch what we do. They're watching how we are with other people. They're watching us how we are with strangers. They're watching us how we treat animals. They're watching what we're trying to feed them. I don't know if you've seen that YouTube video where that 3-4-year-old is in a debate with her mom and she's saying, I'm a vegetarian, and her mom's saying, you need protein, and she's telling her mom how she cannot eat animals that have been killed. And it's adorable video because she's literally like dying of grief having to eat this animal that her mom is pushing on her because she thinks she needs protein. So it's cute. Anyways, the internet is a great place to learn about the shift. But I'm not saying it's okay to learn about it at this point. You don't have the option to know this and not do it. You have to start living it. And you live it. The spiritual journey is not in euphoria. It's not in the ecstasy of illusion. It is in the dirty, messy world you live in. It is in your relationships and your health and your finances and the things that you create joy with. Do you have joy? Are you living 51% of your day in joy? If you're not, you're doing it wrong. Literally.
Yeah.
51%. And that means, do I need to do this? Don't should on yourself. You don't need to do that anymore. It's old. It's old paradigm. And if you don't know how to do it, find someone who has done it and they will show you the way. That's all. Find the muse. Find someone to show you how to do it. Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean someone doesn't. And you will find someone, based on law of attraction, that will resonate with you, that will show you a resonance of how they did it, that will resonate with you. That's the beauty of the game, is you always have what you need, don't you? Your game always injects an angelic somewhere where you need it, whether it's a pet, or a teacher, or a guide, or a healer that just comes into your life at just the right moment. Don't you think you've summoned that? Don't you think you had an agreement based on that? When you meet someone and it's like, whoa, there you are, I've just known you my whole life. Think that's not synchronistic? Things like that are going to start increasing over the next 3 months. And if you deny these synchronicities, you're going to start feeling heavier instead of lighter. So, does anybody have any other questions before we end? Yes?
When you said we're receiving these downloads,
Uh-huh.
and is our DNA changing or are we getting more?
So there's aspects of our DNA that have been dormant. Nothing is ever going to change. Things are just going to move into an alignment. Okay? So the DNA that's going to be awakened or aligning within us has been asleep for a really long time, and it's the codes of Prime Creator. It's the codes of the Central Sun. It's the codes of the universal knowledge. That's how when we awaken and we ascend, we know everything.
So are kids that are being born now, and I'm sure it's been going on for a while. I know it's been going on for a while.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's 12 HELOCs of human DNA. And as the 80s started to unfold and our ascension started to move up into, like, people started to become more aware of this idea in the 40s, the HELOCs of our DNA began to awaken. Okay? So in the 80s, we had about 2 that were awakened. And through the next 2,000 years, all 12 will awaken. And the 12 DNA HELOCs represent the 12 star systems that make up your genetic coding. So it's a game within a game within a game of genetics and epigenetics, which means that what you think changes your DNA. That's all epigenetics is. Your thought processes changes your DNA. So if generations of your entire bloodline had cancer and you choose not to buy into that, your DNA will not allow that process. You choose everything. But if you're not aware, then you don't know you even have the choice. So at Transcendence, that's all we're trying to do is help you move into a state of higher level of awareness so that you can remember who you are. We can't do this for you. You've seen. How many times have you tried to change someone else? Or tried to help someone else? Or tried to do their journey for them because you saw so much potential in them? Well, now think about it. If we can't change them, the only person we're supposed to be changing is us. And the beauty of it is people awaken through our example because the remembrance of us shows them in their reflective process who they are. It's like walking up to someone and being the mirror for the first time and saying, it's okay. You're allowed to be authentic. You're allowed to be you. And I'm going to show you what that looks like through my life. And I will show you the way. That is what the Christ consciousness is. It's the consciousness of Christ, of the message. And then when we take physical action and we represent the true identity of what love looks like through our thoughts, words, behaviors, and actions, then the world wakes up very, very quickly because they see that that is the right way. But there will be sleepers. There will be ones that stay asleep by choice. And they will walk up to your light and they will literally loathe you. And that's okay. If you start to really move into your authentic self and you're expansive and you're excited and you walk up to someone and they literally cannot stand the sight of you, need to know one thing, is the reflection of you scares them because they're not ready to see who they are. And that is none of your business. And that is not an example of who you are not. That does not make you unworthy. It makes your light so big and so reflective that it literally pushes all of their fear buttons and they say, oh gosh, I could not be like that, so therefore I hate that. Darkness is just an absence of light. So when they move into your light, they can't handle it. So you're not going to be loved by everyone, which is a very difficult thing. Especially when your entire life is put into service. When you give and give and give and someone actually comes to you and doesn't like you, it's hurtful in the beginning. And then you start to realize that it's just reflection and that you have not maybe awakened them or asked them to awaken in that moment, but you've planted the seed within their energy field for later. And maybe in 18 months, which is usually the embedment of contact between collective consciousness and Christic consciousness. If someone within Christ consciousness comes into your energy field, within 18 months usually you awaken. Because what it's done is it's created that harvest within your own awakening. But you absolutely have the opportunity to reject that as well. And not everyone is here to like you, just like we came to play a game. We will need opponents to make this fun. We need contrast. It would not be fun. I know it feels very heavy at times, but it's just what tools, what techniques, and what do I have within me right now that I can challenge this opponent and have the experience of winning this level. Yes?
Here's a thought.
Okay?
I'm finding that a lot of, you were talking earlier about emotions or feelings, and I'm finding a lot of them are locked up. And could that be a good thing so I don't have to, so that I can recreate new feelings and don't have to worry about that junk?
Are you having the physical experience of them being locked up, or do you believe that there's feelings that are locked up?
No, it's become physical.
Okay, so then everything is divine and everything is always on time. So if it hasn't come into your point of awareness yet, it's not time. Everything will come up when it needs to come up at the right moment, triggered by the right experience in the right moment of time. Meaning, if it's locked up and you can't get to it yet, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be working on the now moment. Because a lot of times what we'll do is we'll feel this harboring energy over here, and there's something we're working through here, and we ignore this. Right? We call it the distraction. And the best distraction on this planet is other people. I know, I'll focus all of my energy on you so I don't have to look within. That is actually why we haven't evolved faster. And it isn't selfishness. It's self-focus. And moving that energy in so that it can project out. They said that Jesus Christ had the energy field of 21 feet out. That did not come from him constantly giving his energy and power away. It came from being plugged into source energy and being able to blow his energy field out that far. The person who is asleep has a field that's about 3 feet wide. It's a vortex of love. And as you work within, your field expands. And you're able to penetrate more and more and more and more levels, which means that when you're completely connected to source energy, you're affecting 750,000 people just by standing still. Not saying a word, just by being you. Question?
How can you really feel that distance, like that physical, okay, I'm affecting up to that row kind of
You don't
thing?
need to feel it.
I know you don't need to, but it's like, I want to.
So when I was having my awakening process, I would literally imagine that I was on a mountaintop and I was just pushing my energy and my love out, and I was imagining that it was like a blanket going over people. Because only through imagination will you ever be able to experience the non-physical reality.
I feel like my love wants to not be a point. He just wants to like, get right in there.
Well, just give it then. Give it. And if you have too much energy running in your body right now, you need to find an outlet. Dance, music, right? Anything that expands your energy field expands you. Anything that contracts your energy field contracts you. Right? So anything that's going to make you feel bad tomorrow is not going to expand you. Anything that's going to make you feel better today is going to expand your consciousness. And that's how we can really quickly determine the difference between ego and higher self. Because if I just been spending this whole hour saying follow joy, follow joy, follow joy, what if chocolate cake, sex, and wine is my joy? Right? Not a bad combo. But in abundance of that, it contradicts my expansion. Right? It lowers my energy field. It takes my consciousness away from being in the present moment. I'm now sharing energy with someone I don't know. So that is actually contracting my expansion of being a being of my evolution. So all I have to do is ask myself at any given moment, does this idea of joy expand me or contract me? Am I going to feel better or worse about this tomorrow? Because then you will know that that is an ego-based urge and not a higher self-based joy. Because I will tell you, anything that's really, really joyful is going to expand you. Education, experiences, wonderful people, ideas, those things are going to expand you, and the limiting beliefs are going to trigger the urges. Right? I need to numb out. I need to watch TV. I need to go drink all this alcohol. That's a limiting belief triggered in the emotional field that thinks that it's joyful. But it is that instant gratification of ego urge that actually even more puts you into the absence of you facing your own negative emotion. Because when you're drinking, you don't have to look at your darkness, do you? When you're watching TV, when you're blaming someone else, when you're blaming your boss, you don't have to look within. So the ultimate distraction on this planet is creating problems and drama. So just because you don't have an addictive personality where you're drinking alcohol, look at your life where you have an addiction. Because wherever you have that addiction is you projecting your consciousness in another place so you don't have to look within. This whole day today is just about the forecast. Now, if you understand quantum physics, you understand that the probabilities have not completely unfolded, so I cannot give you a date when the ETs are going to drop in and make friends with all of you. And maybe they have, depending on your level of consciousness. But when the banks are going to actually crash, I will tell you that none of this is going to happen until we remove more fear from our energy fields. Because what we fear, we resist. And whatever you're scared of, you will manifest, especially now. Because as manifestation increases on the planet and we become more 5D beings, then everything in our mind manifests quickly so that we can see it faster. We need to be able to see it faster so that we can work through it. But there is no judgment on what you're manifesting. It's just a checkpoint. Oh, I created this. Now I want to create something else. Stop judging yourself. We talked about that all month, last month. Judgment is, the definition of judgment is fear and separation. If I'm judging you, I'm giving it an idea that's right or wrong. There's no such thing in the universe, right and wrong. It's just experience. You didn't always come to this particular planet to play the good guy. You have had incarnations in other planets and on this planet where you were not the good guy because you wanted to experience the contrast of the duality of being the other set point. You wanted to play both victim and perpetrator in order to really have ownership of the game. So a lot of us actually have come here to play bad guys at points, or absence of light, or working from the other side, in order for us to learn. Why do you think you were shoved in the childhood you got? You needed to be smacked into duality. You needed to be pushed down into the absence of love. You needed to be tested so that as you come into your awakening, you have compassion, you have the understanding of the human condition, you understand struggle. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any set point to know what the game you were playing. So I want to leave you guys today with the knowing that you can all just relax. And that it is going to get easier. The last 5 years have been the most challenging 5 years on this planet for a really long time. And the reason why is there was actually less darkness on the planet, but we were aware more. And when you're aware more of suffering, it hurts worse. They call it ignorance is bliss. That's how this planet has been able to stay alive without destroying itself for so long. And as it started to come into awareness, we were aware of everything now. And now that everything is out in the open, it's time to reorganize, recalibrate, and make it what we want. Because the utopia that's going to be out there is a version of what heaven on earth looks like to you. Which means the fifth dimensional life, your reality is exactly what you want, not what's out there. You're generating it, and you're actually able to, like virtual reality, change things. Just like that game Sims. Oh, I'm gonna have this over here, I'm gonna have this over here. You can actually do that in the fifth dimension because everything is malleable. If I poured water into a big bucket shaped like a whale, that water would look like a whale. But as soon as I changed the water, it would move into something else because fifth dimensional energy is very liquid. It's not solid like 3D. And that's going to be where all the fun is. But I would beg you, while you're in these winter dormant hibernation months, this is the time to do the work. So that when the spring comes, you can actually be able to see what you've done. Because in the next 3 months, it could be amazingly gorgeous for you. And by this time next year, your life will look completely different. Opportunities, circumstances, events, people that you've begged for your entire life are going to literally be dropped on your lap. And at that given moment, your belief system is going to say, do I deserve this? And if you feel like you don't, then you have to play that level of the game until you do believe it. Because everything you've ever wanted is coming. It's only you that can say no to it. So, with that being said, thank you all for coming. I know I'm crazy. It's part of why I came. Our Transcendence this month. Again, everything that we do is to put you back into the driver's seat.
Just hum or ohm together, whatever you're most comfortable with. But I want to take a second to read the energy in the room and let everyone connect to your sound. So I can start the sound, or we can just do it on the count of 3. We're going to do it on the count of 3. And it won't be wrong. It doesn't matter if it's out of key. You just need to release whatever sound is inside of you. 1, 2, 3. One more time. Now really let it out. Don't be afraid. If anyone has to be afraid, it's me, and I'm not. So everyone just really give it your all on this one. 1, 2, 3. That was awesome. Alright, so I'm just going to sing a song that makes me feel happy. I didn't want to share all that with you guys before the journey begins. You hold your head up to the sky. You say, what kind of blue are you? Are you? Then you ride a pony round and round. You say it's digging a hole right through, right through. Then you stumble down a yellow brick road, spinning your shoes in the air, the air. Then you hold your breath and count to 9, hoping that soon somebody will find you, find you. Go on, go on, go on, the stars are watching. Just say, just say, just say what you're feeling. You know, you know, you know. You gotta take a bow and do it your way. It's okay, hey. La da 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 da. It's okay, hey. La da 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 da. You're 15 miles over the speed. You're going fast as you can after your daydream. Oh, oh. On your mark, get set, hurry away. Have a serious talk with your champagne. Go on, go on, go on. The stars are watching. Just say, just say, just say what you're feeling. You know, you know, you know. You gotta take a bow and do it your way. It's okay. Hey. La da 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 da. It's okay. Hey. La da 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 da.